Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone, and in this video, we're going to begin by going over the OTA. Then we've got my new favorite Symbiote Spider-Man deck. This one is awesome and must be seen to be believed. A new Madam Web deck that I think is an excellent deck. And then, because Second Dinner spoiled the OTA early, thanks to leaks, but whatever, they spoiled the OTA early, we're going to talk a War Machine deck and an Agatha Harkness deck. Both of those cards were changed, they were fundamentally redesigned, so we're going to look at decks for them and see if they can take off. The first change card, however, is Sandman. This is Sandman's second redesign. Sandman is now a 5/7 on reveal. Next turn, cards cost 1 more with a maximum of 6, and, well, this is not as much worse as people are making it out to be. You're really never going to be able to play more than 2 cards against the Sandman. If you've played into Dream Dimension, you realize how much plus 1 more is. But what this does is adds meaningful counterplay to the card Sandman. Now, Mobius and Black Swan are actual counter cards to Sandman, and Wiccan can make the card a little weaker. I think Sandman's still going to be really good. He's going to disappear. He's enough worse that people aren't going to try him for a little while, but I think somewhere down the line, someone's going to give him a try again, realize he's good, and then he will come back to the meta. Just wait for it. I think Sandman is once more a quite good card, even if it is worse than it was pre-nerf. We have a nice simple change to Mockingbird. She just loses 1 power. She goes from 6/10 to 6/9. She was the best card in the game. I think she still might be. What is dead, though, is that deck that Barzy was playing, that Barzy Idiots deck that was running Scar and stuff. That deck might exist, but it doesn't exist in the form it did because it was so centered on Mockingbird. And Mockingbird at only 9 power does not make Scar cheaper, and it's no longer really worth the squeeze in that exact build, so that's going to have to go back to the drawing board. Every other Mockingbird deck stays the same. You're still perfectly happy to have it 9 power Mockingbird. Arrow, meanwhile, gets the boost from a 5/9 to a 5/10. That's a really big boost for this card. Arrow is kind of underrated because it was the best card in the game way back, and when it's played and it's just sort of good now, or just sort of like a decent stat card now, that's not really impressive. I think Arrow needed this power to sort of give it some space away from Stegron, and also this is going to make decks next month, when we get a new move counter card going, even better. So I think this is a reasonably big change down the line, but it's not one that matters necessarily immediately. Black Cat also gets an extra power, which makes a lot of sense. The -2 from Hela was really killing a 4/9 Black Cat. Making it a 4/7 was terrible. 4/8 is a significant buff. Good for Black Cat. I think Hela is going to be a meta deck. We talked about that. We covered a major Hela deck, and we may have another one for you later this video. Although it won't have Black Cat. Fair warning. Ghost Rider, however, will be in a deck later this video. Spoiler, it's in the Agatha deck, sorry. Ghost Rider getting an extra power is pretty solid. I think it actually does matter, largely because sometimes Ghost Rider brings back a big thing that ends up Shang-Chi'd. Getting Ghost Rider above that Shang-Chi is pretty solid. Is it amazing? No, but it's a nice change. Same thing is true of the Moon Girl change. Well, not necessarily exactly the same. You're not doing the Shang thing, but Moon Girl having an extra power gives you an extra chance at getting priority for all your nonsense 1-drops, which you don't always want, but hey, it's a way to do things. Look, those decks are good. We had a Woody version of that list that was really good last week. It's good to see that Moon Girl is not forgotten, and an extra power doesn't hurt here. In my personal opinion, the changes to Arrow, Black Cat, Ghost Rider, and Moon Knight are still them just sort of catching up from ages ago, the Shang-Chi change. When Shang-Chi went from hitting 9 power cards to 10 power cards, basically the entire game moved up a level in power, like literally a point in power, and they're just slowly giving all the cards that need an extra point of power, and that's kind of where we are for these changes. Finally, the 2 interesting cards. War Machine is no longer an on-reveal. It is now an ongoing, which I think is absolutely humongous. Being able to play War Machine on curve and not worry about Hope Summers or any other nonsense and getting the benefit for the rest of the game is going to be incredible. You can then War Machine and then play an Ebony Maw on turn 5 and still Infinite on turn 6. There's going to be an absolute ton of plays. I expect a lot of Storm Legion stuff tomorrow, so mentally prepare yourself for that. I think that War Machine's probably significantly better now. Is it going to be meta? Speculating on War Machine is a fool's errand. No one knows how good this card can be. We know that everyone thought it was going to be broken when it was released, and it, in fact, was not. Well, perhaps this change can finally make it live up to its hype. Perhaps not. Literally, I cannot imagine knowing. My guess is that this is a very good card now, but still nowhere near the meta breaker it was thought to be when it was first data mine, but I expect it to actually finally be good and see play. If it is too good, however, the Legion Storm thing's going to be too good, and that's a like not fun thing. So we'll see how long this lasts as a fun card before it becomes a problem. And finally, we have Agatha. Agatha does everything the same, except now she only controls you on even terms, which is amazing. A, this completely kills Agatha bot farmers. If you were an Agatha bot farmer, that is gone. But B, I think Agatha might be a real deck now. Like, the deck we're going to look at for Agatha later, I think might be really good. She basically, since she starts in your hand, right, and she doesn't take up a draw like Quicksilver or Domino, or Thanos, she's just incredible, right? Like, she thins your deck. Thinning your deck is good, and I think you can build a deck that just doesn't deal with her negative. I think there might be like some. We already know that there's all odds Darkhawk decks out there. We can probably do something with that. We can probably do something with Hela. I think Agatha's going to have a good card, and I'm really curious for it. It's not a surprise that this is also happening right as the Agatha television show is going to come out, because having the card extra good at that point is a thing that makes sense for second dinner. If this is too good, though, I fully expect Agatha to lose a point or two of power. All right, that is my OTA thoughts. If you'd like further and much extended OTA thoughts, make sure you check out the podcast Saturday. Both Safety Blade, the genius of Marvel Snap Zone, and the great devilish plays of Snap Prentice fame will be on the show along with myself and Gunny T. And we're going to start that show by talking OTA. So if you're interested in it, do check it out. All right, so the first deck we're going to talk about is the Madam Web deck. Like, this Madam Web is incredible in this list. Like, absolutely incredible in this list. This is Sizer's mover list. I played this list. This list is very good. It's really hard to tell how good Madam Web is right now. We're going to talk more about that when we get to expert opinions later in the video. But I thought yesterday's deck was the best Madam Web deck I had played. We're going to keep discovering new best Madam Web decks. As of today, this is the best Madam Web deck that I've seen. Sizer had fallen down to like rank 200 and climbed to rank 30 with this list in a couple of hours. It's a legitimately good list. I thought Madam Web would offer more consistency than she does, but Move is still an extremely finicky deck. What Sizer did figure out that makes this deck really, really different is Multiple Man, and especially Multiple Man and Hulkbuster, as a mini Phoenix Force, is really, really strong with Madam Web. If you can get those two down and then movement to Madam Web with either a Ghost Spider, Dagger, or Cloak, you basically get a Phoenix Force, which is just incredible, right? Like a mini Phoenix Force, sort of an old Phoenix Force before the Multiple Man bug was fixed, but still a Phoenix Force, and it ends up being really strong, especially if you can get Hercules out, especially if you have Heimdall, so on. You're basically just moving 6 power all over the place. It's pretty solid. That's how the basic gist of this list. I think, again, this is really good. If you do get Madam Web, I suggest you give this a try. You can find Sizer playing this list, one of the best players in the world, at twitch.tv/Sizer2654. Alioth or Hercules are both changeable. Alioth was in and out for Symbiote Spider-Man because Symbiote Spider-Man makes you a 9-power multiple man, which again makes a lot of sense when you are when you're trying to build your own Phoenix Force, right? That can also be Hercules. Hercules is incredible in this list, though. Hercules is incredible. He just sometimes betrays you because he hits into a random spot. Her can also be Doctor Strange if you're missing Hercules, but you need both Madam Web and Ghost Spider. A reminder, there's a bundle in the shop. I thought it was $15. My commenters tell me it's $20. Sorry, I bought it already. But that bundle comes with Ghost Spider. If you buy it, you'll still have to open it in Spotlights eventually, but then you'll have Ghost Spider, and if you get Madam Web, you have enough to play this deck, assuming you have Series 3 cards. All right, so this went 33-19, 64% before the hot location, and then it sort of died in the hot location. Hot location, it's weird. They usually don't make hot locations that are bad for. They usually don't make hot locations that are bad for the new card, but the hot location is not good for Madam Web. Basically, Madam Web says I want to play a card on her every turn so I can push it out and do other things, and the Brooklyn Bridge hot location says nope. So this is not a hot location list. Fair warning. Turn 1 is usually a pass. You can Torch if you really have nothing else going and you already have the move set up, or you can Iron Fist if you have Torch and you don't have Madam Web or Multiple Man. Turn 2, generally speaking, like to play Madam Web, and if you have Madam Web, she is a snap condition. That's better than Multiple Man, which is usually better than moving Torch right now. You can move Torch early, but being able to go Torch and, what is the name of this card? Torch and Hulkbuster is insanely powerful. Just fair warning. It makes Torch so big so fast it's a lane runner. Turn 3 is a move card on Madam Web, or Hulkbuster on Multiple Man or Torch, or you can just drop Hercules. Cool. So a reasonable amount of the time, you're going turn 2 Snap, turn 2 Madam Web, turn 3 Hercules, and you've done fundamentally nothing. So turn 4, you drop a move card on Madam Web. Ideally, you drop 2 move cards, one or something to pull a card into Madam Web, right? Or something to pull a card into Hercules, because that'll just double your move, and now you're really amplifying your power. Turn 5 is generally more move. This is your weakest turn. You're trying to get a second mover going. If you don't have 2 movers, you're going to have trouble. But if you do have 2 movers, unless they can counter you by predicting you, they're going to have a hard time beating you. If at this point you can move Dagger and get her to like 10 to 12 power, it really, really is helpful, because you would very much like priority. And if you can get priority, Alioth can often win you the game. Opponents are going to expect Time Doll. Alioth is insanely powerful in that context. And then finally, right after that's how you play the list, you snap. Again, when you realize your opponent is playing something that does not have counterplay, because you go bigger than almost everything, and you have a couple movers or the right combo of movers and enablers to get too big, or you snap on Madam Web. Or you can also do the boomer snap thing on Alioth, because people think you're snapping on Heimdall when you do, and it's possible to steal cubes. All good? We're going to take one last look at this, and then we're going to chat for a minute, and then we're going to get to that thumbnail deck finally. So one last look at this list. It is very strong. This is where you want to be for Madam Web right now. I think I want Cosmo in this list. I want Symbiote Spider-Man. You only get 12 cards, though. So, like, I think we're eventually going to get to a Madam Web list that's at, like, perfect. Is it going to be tier 1 is going to be the big question, and I'm not sure yet. This is, however, a very good list. I think it's probably tier 2, but it's still very, very strong. It's also, God, I'm sick of move metas. Sorry, sick of move metas. I'm sick of move mirrors. All right, please hit that sub button. We bring you 7 days a week of Marvel Snap videos here on this channel. We're trying to hit 15,000 subs. We're at like 13,400. Your sub would go an absolutely insanely long way toward helping us out. A like and a comment tells the algorithm to show us to more people, which helps us out. We give you at least 3 decks every day, and like, let's be honest, 99% of days it's 4 decks, and then we have a giant podcast with Marvel Snap's biggest names every single Saturday. If you want more Marvel Snap content than anyone, please sub here. Also, right below me, you don't have to click off the video, is a little red button. It says like, subscribe. It looks like a YouTube button. You hit that, you're subbed. You've done the thing. So if you're willing, I'd appreciate it. And in return, in addition to all the content, we do the biggest giveaways in Marvel Snap. We give away something like 15 season passes a season. 10 are the first 2 weeks of the season, last week of the old season, first week of the new season. But then we give away 1 a week, so we're giving away a season pass this week. All you have to do is sub, like, and later on this video, I'll ask you a question. You answer that question in the comments. You're entered to win a season pass. Nice and simple. All right, this is Buddy's new Sarah. This list is awesome. I did not think this list was going to be good. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to pretend I thought this was going to be amazing. I was wrong. This is a very, very, very strong list that I strongly urge you to check out if you at all can, because this is, I mean, okay. So I saw this list and I was like, what? This is stupid. That's not going to work. Symbiote Spider-Man on ZABU is 100% real. If you can get Symbiote Spider-Man on ZABU and then Sarah, you're just like going to town, just like old ZABU and Sarah, which was one of those powerful things, except now no one is playing around that. Back then, people had to play around it. Now no one's playing around it. And if you can stop, like, you just beat the crap out of opponents with your tech cards at that point. All right, you can find Buddy on Twitter at twitter.com/BuddyLean. You can also check the replies to this deck and watch everyone absolutely crushing with it, because it's way too good. This deck is very, very good. ZABU and Symbiote are your needed cards here. This is, again, a ZABU list. Ms. Marvel can be Omega Red, or you can try Gwenpool. I'd honestly rather have Omega Red in this. I don't think this is a Gwenpool list without Mysterio or anything else, but hey, if you want to try Gwenpool, it makes sense. White Widow can be Baron Mordo. Baron Mordo remains insanely slept on and a pretty good card. The difference is Widow is good late and Mordo is only good early. Feel free to chuck a Jeff in there too. Copycat. Ooh, that was fun. Sorry, everyone at my job, I'm a teacher, is getting their first week cold and my body is fighting it off, but I can feel it in my throat. All right, so Copycat and Mobius can be Rogue, Gladiator, Polaris, whatever, good 3. Mobius is generally more important than Copycat here, but Copycat's pretty good. Copycat also lets you know which of your tech cards you need, so that's pretty good too. Copycat should, if you know the meta, tell you what deck your opponent's playing. If you know what deck your opponent's playing, when you draw Copycat, it really does help you to be like, okay, so I can Temple Enchantress if I really need to here, or I need to hold Enchantress and make damn sure. And like, it lets you know, okay, I need to get Ghost out, or okay, I need to get Mobius out, whatever the case may be. All right, let's go card by card for this one. So basically, the gist of this deck is you want to go ZABU, Symbiote, Spider-Man, Sarah, and then at the end of the game, you have the opportunity to play Shang, Enchantress, Ms. Marvel together. Shang, Ms. Marvel, Killmonger, Shang, Ms. Marvel, White Widow, and Shadow King. Any combination of these is incredible. Shadow King is insanely good in the meta right now with move everywhere, and with Luke Cage no longer protecting strength buffed cards from Shadow King. Shadow King is now absolutely stellar. Move has no real power in the deck outside of its scalers, so if you can hit almost any card, and we're talking specifically Dagger, Human Torch, and Vulture, you bring them down to almost nothing, and then you win that lane, because it is not hard to go over the top of their extremely low base powers. White Widow offers you just a bit of clog. If they are overcommitting, it's really solid to be able to White Widow and make their lives a little difficult. It's also just decent power at the end of the game. If you can, if you don't have Prio and you can figure out where they're going to play, you basically get a 2-5 out of the deal, and 2-5 is just pretty good stats, especially when it's also a good play on curve. ZABU is one of the key cards in the deck. It is ZABU and Sarah that let you do the shenanigans. But look, there's also times when you're going to see the ZABU symbiote thing, but you're not going to see Sarah. And just a ZABU on 5, just being able to Shang and Enchantress or Shang and Ms. Marvel on 6 is still extremely powerful, and it gives you access to a backup Sarah. ZABU is a card that everyone wishes were activate if we could figure out the right activate trigger, but the way it is now, this is a decent home. Killmonger is here for 2 reasons. One, Zoo remains everywhere. Zoo is still one of the most prominent and popular decks. Having access to a Killmonger at the end of the game, especially with a Shadow King and Enchantress, so on, is game-winning for that matchup, like genuinely back-breaking. If they have Kyra, you have Enchantress, and then you Killmonger, and you get a bunch of extra cubes. Of course, Killmonger is also really great into the Human Torch, and the Human Torch is everywhere right now because of Madam Web Week. Human Torch, Killmonger, bye-bye. We also have Mobius. Mobius is, again, very strong. Mobius just took a fairly big hit, or will take a fairly big hit as the OTA goes live. Mockingbird will still be in a ton of decks, but the Scar decks that were really abusing this, that Mobius gave you free snaps and wins against, will be gone. We'll see if Mobius can perhaps go for a different card. Part of me wants Juggernaut in this list, maybe even for Copycat, but there are plenty of options. I don't really want to cut Copycat from this list, though, because what Copycat offers you is information about what tech cards you need and what you want to do. If it's turn 3 or 4 and you've drawn Copycat and not drawn Enchantress, and Copycat's telling you your opponent's ongoing and they snap you, that is a free retreat. Versus if you've pulled Copycat Iron Man, right, and they snap you thinking they've got their whole Tribunal combo going, you can snap back and steal cubes. Copycat's information here has value in a way it doesn't usually, and otherwise her ability is just still super strong. Next up, we have Ghost. Ghost is incredible here. There's a lot more power to this deck than you think, and it can be hard to throw priority, particularly if you trigger Ms. Marvel early. Ghost says, I don't care. My Shang will hit. My Enchantress will hit. My Shadow King will hit, etc. That is an extremely important thing. It also gives you a ton of extra play into Bounce. Bounce is really good at throwing priority by getting everything back into their hand at the end of the game. Well, you can now Killmonger Bounce, get rid of all those demons, those Silver Sables, and everything else. Shang-Chi is Shang-Chi. It's still the card the game is built around. It is a meta answer, especially since, again, Bounce is all over the place. Almost all the Bounce scalers get big enough to be either Shadow King or Shang-Chi targets. It's an extra hit. Ms. Marvel remains the most power you can get in a 4-drop. She is a 4/14. That is the most base simple power without a ton of extra work, and this deck does not run anything that really makes that difficult. You just want a power card, and Ms. Marvel gives you access to a power card for this list. That is fundamentally the use of her. Enchantress, this isn't necessarily an Enchantress meta, but look, if your opponent plays Madam Web and snaps you, having access to that Enchantress on turn 4 is a win condition. Being able to Enchantress off Iron Man, who's reappearing in the meta, is amazing. Being able to hit a Ravonna can change a game. Being able to take out an opposing Mobius is game-winning. Enchantress is not the best tech card right now, but Enchantress is extremely underrated for what she does. Symbiote Spider-Man is here largely for ZABU. Hitting that ZABU is huge, but it also lets you play out a tech card earlier as need be. If you must shang something early, your opponent might feel safe to play another big card there. One of the things I did was against an Goliath player. I ended up shanging their, I don't know, I'm going to say Mockingbird, whatever big card. I think it was actually Magneto. And I had a Symbiote Spider in that lane, right? So when they played Blob there, foolishly, I re-triggered, beat them, have a great day. You can do that with Shadow King, you can do that with Shang-Chi, you can recopy Killmonger, but don't sleep overall on recopying White Widow. Getting that extra Widow's Kiss to lock up a lane is very strong. And finally, Sarah is the key card on the list. Sarah is the other cost reduction card along with ZABU that lets this list really shine and makes everything come together. Without Sarah, this is not a list, it's a pile of cards. Sarah is the deck. This is a Sarah deck through and through. Cool. Turn by turn. So turn 1 you pass, turn 2 ZABU, you just get it out. And if you can ZABU into Symbiote or Ms. Marvel, feel free. If you need some Mobius, and you can tell you need some Mobius, let's say they may have a death or something, we'll drop that instead. And Ghost if you have no inkling of anything else. I tend to do. I like Ghost a lot on this list. Turn 4, you play Symbiote over Ms. Marvel. Turn 5, if you have Sarah, you basically always play Sarah. You would like to trigger Symbiote onto ZABU at the same time. If you're not triggering Symbiote onto ZABU, trigger Symbiote onto something else. Don't feel, however, that you have to trigger that activate. It is not a requirement. That activate, 1, opens you up to Shadow King, which is in the meta, and 2, can take away your Ms. Marvel buff. So be smart about your activations. Turn 6, you want Ms. Marvel, Shang, and Enchantress. Yes, you can play all 3. You can fit in Shadow King and Killmonger as needed. All good? All right, right after this next bit, we're going to talk about the War Machine. So one last look at this list. Please play this list. Please play this list. Please play this list. It is so much better than it looks. Again, I'm sorry, buddy. I looked at this list. I was like, yeah, whatever. I don't even know if I'm going to feature it. And then I played it and I was like, oh, no, I need to feature that. This list is really strong into the meta right now. It answers basically everything everyone's doing. I mean, it's a control deck. It's built to do that. But it also puts out more power than you would think, and it's got every combo piece it needs. 3/5s being like the natural 3 cost right now really does help this type of list. If you'd like to see gameplay for this, please check out the stream team. It is Thursday, so the great Parry Manilow will be streaming this evening. Check him out. Meanwhile, GamingwithFlashX will have a video of yesterday's decks up if you want to see that too. All right, War Machine list. This is Owie's War Machine list. He sent this to me and was like, feature it. Owie is a French player who's often in the top 5 players in the world, top 10 players in the world. He chills in the top best of the world. So if Owie thinks this list is going to be legit, we gotta at least try it out. We gotta at least feature it. This seems really strong, right? It's obviously able to do the Storm, War Machine, Legion thing, which just wins games. And then you've got Madam Web and Jeff to just put power wherever needed in order to win the game while you do that, as Nebula will grow and so on and so forth, right? That's one way to win here. You can also just win by going like Storm, War Machine, Blink, and then getting like a Doom or an Infinite in that lane, and those can be exceedingly powerful plays. You can spend your turn 5 you can go War Machine, then spend your turn 5 going Jubilee, Ebony Maw, or Iron Lad, Ebony Maw. There's a million fantastic plays with this list. This seems like it's really cool. I'm a little worried about this list. This seems like it might be too good, but let's do it. Let's figure out if this list can be too good. I'm going to tell you right now, I really want Hope Summers in this. I'd like another 3 that's not Storm, but I don't know if there's space. This list feels tight. I think it would have to be Madam Web, and I think Madam Web, if you do get the Legion Storm off, can really be backbreaking. All right, so you can find Owie at youtube.com/@OwieMarvelSnap. He speaks French, but if you know Marvel Snap, you'll be able to understand just fine. He's also Owie with a bunch of eyes over on Twitch. All right, so Nebula for this list can be Sunspot, because if you end up passing a turn, Sunspot ends up bigger than Nebula, but like either way, you're fine. Madam Web can be White Widow. Madam Web can be sort of any good 3 here. Any good 2 here. You could even try Hope Summers. You need Jeff, because Jeff can be played once everything's stormed. You need Iron Lad, because you're trying to hit your combo. You need Legion, because it's a combo piece. You need Blink, because you're trying to hit your combo. You need War Machine, because it's a combo piece. And you need Legion, because it's a combo piece. So those are the cards you need. I know this is fairly expensive, but I think this is the War Machine shell. So Owie is ridiculously excited. Listening to his tone when we're talking about this, he's just through the roof about this. He doesn't always send me his decks. A lot of my conversation with Owie, and I love Owie, are either I find an Owie deck and I ask him about it, or him finding a really cool meta deck and being like, hey, can you help me out with who made this? So that's a lot of our conversations. Him sending me his own deck and be like, this is it, is rare, and so I'm pretty excited for this, I'm not gonna lie. Turn 1, you want a Nebula. Turn 2, Madam Web is generally better than Nebula, but it's a 50-50. Turn 3, Storm, and if not, you've got earlier plays, just fine. You're fine playing Jeff at any point, but, don't move him if you don't have to. Turn 4, you would very much like to War Machine and Snap, especially if you've Stormed, because now your opponent has to assume you're going to do the Legion combo, and if you don't, they're in trouble. So I think that War Machine is now going to be a Snap condition in this, and that's better than Iron Lad, which can hit War Machine, or Iron Lad or Jubilee, which can hit War Machine, because you'd really like to get War Machine out on this list. Turn 5, Legion is better than Blink. Legion ends the game, though, so be forewarned, you should probably be winning when you play Legion. Blink, it has a reasonable chance. Look at your hand. Blink has a reasonable chance of hitting that Legion. It could also hit Doom or Infinite. You'll see. And then turn 6, if there is an ability to play cards, if you can just drop a 20 power Infinite, that seems like it's probably pretty good. You can also drop Doom. It's also worth noting on turn 5, if you played War Machine on 4 and you don't have any combos, you can go with Ebony Maw and Iron Lad or Jubilee, and then you can blink that Jubilee on turn 6, which seems like it's probably pretty damn strong too. Ton of plays, ton of power. We'll see. I think what we really need to see is, 1, how consistent the combo is, and 2, are we actually going to be able to get enough power? And that's what I'm going to ask as your question of the day. Do you think War Machine's going to be meta? I'm not predicting that War Machine's going to be meta, because once burned, twice shy, because War Machine has definitely burned us. So how about some Agatha? Let's talk some Agatha after one more look at this, and then a look at Madam Web list. Remember, you can play this list without Madam Web, but I think it's pretty cool that we got an extra Madam Web list in here, right? Okay, so top player thoughts on Madam Web. I have the following players' thoughts. Sizer says this is a snap condition on 2, but we won't know its full potential until Aranya. Dai Cavallo says moves early snap condition. Hey, I think you're supposed to snap on Madam Web. Good stuff. She makes a meta deck. Good. So I don't know if the move is meta, but I know it doesn't exist without her. Good. So if you want to play move, whether move is good enough or not, I honest to God cannot tell. But we want to, if move is good enough, it's going to be with her. Jimmy Dickens says another week or so for her outside of move homes to appear. Good, but overhyped. Ika says it's unfair to judge her without Aranya, but not game breaking as anticipated. She's still a must for move. W says not for me, but a nice little card. Derek says decent, feels okay. And Safety says an average 2-drop. Outside of move, she was decent, but I ended up cutting. So it seems like no one's through the moon about this card. We'll see if that changes by Monday, and I'll also be pulling some stats. But right now, I'm not through the moon with her either. I think move is good, but I don't think move is going to be the best deck in the game, the thing you have to do. And I'm like almost 100% sure move bounce is not the best deck in the game, the thing you should do. So I am excited that this card is... No, I'm not excited. That's too strong. I'm intrigued by this card, but I'm not impressed yet. I will again take a look at stats and give you my recommendation for the weekend in tomorrow's video. All right, our last deck comes from the White Wayne Brady. This is New Agatha, and I think this list is sweet. Agatha now plays on even turns, so I've got one change, one thing I don't like about this list, and outside of that, I think this is awesome. So, White Wayne Brady, with thanks to Parry Manilow, who you can find on Twitch at Parry Manilow, streaming this deck tonight. So if you want to check that out, that'd be awesome. I'd personally rather have Lady Sif than White Widow, and my logic is as follows. And everything else about this list I think is basically perfect. But on turn 2, if you just draw Black Knight, and your Agatha plays your White Widow, you're going to be very annoyed. So I'd rather not give Agatha the chance to play anything but my Black Knight early. So that's what I'm trying to do by keeping this card in the by taking out White Widow for Lady Sif. Lady Sif also gives you an extra chance at hitting Agatha as a discard. And remember, you can choose to play Lady Sif or not based on if you have Hela or whatever else you have in hand. So I'm personally on Lady Sif for this, but I can see why White Widow is here, because it's just a really strong tempo card. Kara can be armor here. That's like way worse, like significantly and incredibly worse, except that sometimes you're going to have to play this card on turn 6, right? Because like you'll be like, all right, so I got out an Agatha and a Magneto or whatever, right? I cheated out some nonsense. I got out a shard. And then you're going to want to protect that Agatha while playing a Ghost Rider, while playing a, well, I guess it's really just Ghost Rider for this version of the list. And yeah, so you will need the extra, so armor will be playable there where Kara will not. But Kara protects all your 6s and armor does not. So, a little bit of both. I think Kara is better. Again, I just think armor is not, like, way worse if you don't have Kara. Red Hulk can be Giganto. Red Hulk is better, again, but Giganto is fine. And you need War Machine, Black Knight, and Corvus. So if you have those 3 cards, and all 3 of those cards ended up being really good or really hyped for a while, then you got this list. Alright, so I think this is actually going to be really good. Like, it would not shock me to see this be a meta list. So turn 1, you play Black Knight. Turn 2, White Widow will play herself. Again, if you cut White Widow, turn 2, they will play Black Knight or nothing. Turn 3, you wave if you have Kyara, because you can then bait out that Shang. If they, like, snap you when you play Agatha, they're going to Shang it, right? Drop Kyara and waste their Shang. Enjoy yourself. And if you didn't see that wave Kyara, then you Corvus. Sorry, the wave for Agatha to play herself, then you Corvus. Agatha plays herself with wave. If she's discarded, you're going to play either the Ghost Rider or the Shard. Turn 5, Kyara if Agatha's out. If not, the best 6 you can get to, or Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider is really ideal here. And then turn 6, Hela, Infinite, Ghost Rider, Shard, whatever card makes sense here is what you go with, and then you should be able to win the game, because that's how this works. One last look at this. I think this list is going to be really strong. I'm not even being, like, sarcastic. I think Agatha only playing your even turns, you being in control of odd turns, is going to make this list really, really strong. You should have a reasonably good chance at getting rid of this card. Turn 3 being the key turn, where you want to make sure that you can choose the right card to get rid of Agatha. Being able to do that seems awesome. Questions of the day, we're actually only going to have one. So, Caretix Lee offered me a question of the day to get something off my chest, and I've been saving it, so now feels like a good time. I'm going to offer a warning to any of you who don't want anything political in your Marvel Snap content. This is a good point to end the video for the day. All good? Alright. There was a debate last night in America. If you're not American, you might not know this, you might not care, but a good portion of the world cared. And what I heard was a candidate consistently attack immigrants, consistently attack trans people, and consistently attack women. Now, you might not know this, but some of my best friends, both in the community and in my life, are trans. A lot of my students are trans. The town I teach in is heavily immigrant. Both my wife and my mother are immigrants. But I never, ever, ever have to have met an immigrant, a trans person, even a woman, to understand that people are people, and treating people with kindness and respect is exceedingly important. I watched someone treat entire groups of human beings like they were less than, like they were absolute garbage, filth, something to be disgusted by and frowned upon. People that didn't have the right to exist in this country or this world. And I have no time or patience for that. If you believe that immigrants, trans people, women don't deserve rights, don't deserve the ability to exist with peace and love, then I bid you adieu. There are plenty of other Marvel Snap content creators who would happily have you and enjoy your views, but I'd rather not have that. People deserve love, compassion, respect. Their identity, where they were born, how they were born, who they are inside or outside, should not preclude them from that respect and dignity. There is no caveat to this. There is no but to this. People need and deserve love. If you think that people are eating dogs, stealing dogs and cats to eat them, or there's forcible transgender surgeries happening, and this is some, like, disease that's mind rotting and mind wiping people, then I don't want you here. I hope you have a good life, and that you learn compassion, that you learn to not judge human beings by horror stories you hear from people who do not have your best interests at heart. That's the end of this rant. I've already lost subscribers and patrons for this. I don't care. If you cannot understand compassion and humanity, then don't be here. That's it for that. Certain tiers of support on our Patreon come with honor. Thanks. I'd like to say thank you to Abigail Giesland, Men Turberna, Cables, Irregardless, David G. Winfield, Direwolf, Always Kind, LAB, FaThorNewman, Good Dog Gamer, Inc., I Am Frostman, Jane Everett, Corwin, Primed Ryan, Ryan Burke, Kara Tixley, the King of Questions, thank you for that one, bud. Boy Ray, The Black Dahlia, My Colonel Slater, Pyrofros, Goat Seeker, Denman Falcon, Quid Pro Joe, the King of New Marvel Snap Card Content, Docty, Fat Nick, Mr. Kerfuffle, Ginger Prime, Philip Rakovich, hope you're doing well, Racco, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, Rob Silverman, The Bizza, Xorus V, and Skippy G. Skippy G reached out to me. Great to hear from you, Skippy. Tommy Nyquist, winner of Snapchat League Season 1, The King of Bros, The Great Kazoo, Jessica Gamble, Woody, Ryan Wood, Kev C. Hoda, Luna Chris, Quantum Quinn, John Q, Jimmy McHugh, Clam, 8th Sage, Mod Supreme Models, The One and Only Darth Vader, Joe P, no Joe K, Joe P, Brian Kaufman and Tristan H. Martin, J. Sun B, J. DiMattaldino, The Fuzzy Dunlop, Spectrumix, Matt H, DJ Mikey Hijinks, No Frickin' Flex, Ocularis, who I'm going to pause, and again, it was actually Ocularis, excuse me, who hit Infinite for the first time last season. Congrats to Ocularis, huge props, big accomplishment, proud of you. The Mr. Craig Sterry, Seamus, Jonesy, check out the Triple Threat, The Great Two Ties, Lauren Whatevs, one of my favorite people in the world, the Pirate King Tuccrr, who you need to check out on Twitch, the Homie Min, and of course Gunny T, where the T stands for. We got another great video right below. Are you interested in some awesome decks? Do you like bounce? Click below for a sick bounce deck, and hit that sub button, also right below me. See you tomorrow for another Snap Take, where we will have awesome decks for you. I think I have a hot new bounce deck for you tomorrow, and new W.